Yes, we're live. Welcome in, everybody. This is the second stream on American and Leeds. We had a really cracking stream, I thought, last night with Nate and Brendan. And so thanks to everybody from coming in. I think we'll try to get everybody together at some point. Go ahead and when you get in, like the stream, we're going to go for 100 likes again, back to back. Maybe we'll go 110. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming in. I think we're just going to get down to brass tacks, get into business and get stuck in. We haven't all three gathered since Aston Villa.
No.
So it's been a minute. We don't have to go over everything. I think the sacking of Jesse is a dead dog at this point. But if you want to talk about that, you can. I'm just interested in what your thoughts are on the managerial search thus far. And I've been comparing it a lot to other businesses not having. You're good. This is live. This is the content you get.
Embrace it.
Yeah, the search.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts?
What are you comparing it to?
Embrace it.
Any other business would have succession plans in place. Like, how did they not see this happening?
Don't we, Alex? Doesn't Victor always talk about a list of things he has with lots of names in every position and every role in the club, just in case something happens? I thought we had that one covered. Apparently,
I thought
sports cars I'm going to buy.
It's that meme, isn't it? It's the Kenny Chang one. That's Victor's list of candidates that he keeps in his pocket. Sorry, Michael, you're going to say something.
No. I was saying I've got a list of sports cars I'm going to buy.
I heard someone else do something like that as well during the week. It was, I think it was a square ball. Somebody sent a voicemail in and it was like, yeah, I have a list of managers as well. Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp.
Exactly.
It's a good list, but it's not because none of them are coming to Leeds.
Well, that's absolutely correct. That's a great assessment because it's only a good list if it's actually workable. That's what makes a plan a good plan. I mean, it can be a good plan in theory, but if it's not workable, then it's not a good plan.
It's not a plan at all.
It's not a plan at all. You may as well have done nothing, because if you're not actually able to put it into effect, then what is the point? The board has just it's such a shambles what they've done and the way that they've essentially been acting for two seasons now. I think up to a certain point, and obviously, getting promoted and everything showed that they were doing overall a pretty good job. That first year that we were up, they did a questionable job with recruitment. I think, obviously some of the players we brought in were good. Some of them didn't really fit what we were doing. And I don't think there was a lot of really good sort of long-term planning there in terms of squad building perspective, because obviously we had so many holes in our squad. Even in that first year, we had holes in our squad that players like Stuart Dallas were just filling. And the amount that our championship players stepped up to perform in that very odd first season back, I think gave them a real false sense of security that they were doing a good job when they weren't. And ever since then, it's been incredibly evident. And last season, all of the activity or lack of activity that led up to Bielsa's sacking is just clear evidence of the fact that they're sort of now out of their depth, I think, at this level. The way that they handled the replacement there, the way that they've handled everything with Jesse Marsh. I mean, there were so many points in time where many of us were pointing out, this isn't working. It's not turning a corner. It's not turning a corner. I mean, you keep saying it's turning a corner. Guys, it's not turning a corner. You're just going in a circle.
It's a roundabout.
Exactly. That's not turning a corner. You're just going in a circle. And that's really all we've been doing for a long time. So this managerial search is just another example of them being out of their depth at this point. And I think so often it just seems that they're acting or reacting. They're not acting. They're reacting emotionally to situations rather than long-term planning. They're not looking at this and saying, look, this isn't working long-term. Oh, but we got a result here. So let's just give it one more try. Let's just give it one more try. You can't plan like that. You can't let one result change your mind. You just can't. That's not a way to run a business. It's not a way to run an elite business in an elite league like this. It's not a way to run a football club. And that's what they've done. And that's why we are where we are right now. Sorry, I've ranted enough.
Feel better?
A little bit.
Good.
Thank you.
Jir, the most interesting part of all this, I think, was the Dutch manager that was going to be Schrouder.
Yeah.
I love that I saw one account he was like an alien. They drew like an alien.
Megamind. Megamind. Yeah, out of what was that? That was the movie Megamind. Yeah, Will Ferrell played the character. Sorry, big blue head. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he was not liked, but he was going to be the manager. There was a big push on Twitter and other places amongst the fans. And that's very unique in English football and maybe European football, where the fans really, they don't, SHIT in their mess kit. They know where their bread's buttered. They know that the fans are football is for the fans. And so Raz pulled the plug on that. What was your take on that whole, I guess, 24 hours, 36 hours, where it looked like he was taking meetings with the staff. He was on the field after the game. We obviously had the beat writers talk about that he was being seen. So what did you think about that?
Well, he did no job of trying to hide his appearance at all. He made himself very visible where he was sitting. And I know Romano's come out with a story saying he was never close and he was there visiting other people and whatever he said, which just abundantly isn't true. There's too much evidence to say that what he's saying is
I mean, Raz is probably
hand feeding him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Say this to me, will you? Thanks, mate. We've seen this before, though. Maybe not with a manager, but we've seen this a couple of times. We saw what Thomas Christensen's sacking at Leeds wasn't handled great either. There seems to be a history of stuff happening after January transfer windows. I don't know why. Is there a tax year or something going on that we need to know about? Is there, it's handled exactly how I'd expect Radrazani and Orta to handle things. It's panicked. It's not thought through. It's as Michael said, it's reactive. I think being reactive is giving them too much credit. I think reactive means they can actually do something which they haven't been able to here. I just think Victor gets an idea in his head and he's forceful, and you see how he is. And Rads lets him play with the toys. And unfortunately, I was saying this to somebody else earlier on. I've said it on Twitter a lot over the last couple of days. I remember Victor's first year at Leeds, and I remember sharing a tweet that had Orta out on it. A big banner was made, right? In the first year that he was at Leeds, I think Gary Monk was there at the time, and he'd come in from Middlesbrough. And I went looking for Middlesbrough articles this week about what went on. And he was heavily criticized for the signings that he made and their effectiveness and the money that he wasted on players. He came to Leeds then, and he got, the first couple of years weren't great. He was nearly ran out of Leeds in the first year. There was a very heavy campaign to get rid of him. Especially on Twitter. It wasn't as vocal as it is now, but it was, of its time, it was pretty vocal. And then Bielsa comes in, and that makes him bulletproof for 3 years. Like, pretty much makes everything he does bulletproof for 3 years, because, Bielsa to get a song out of a rock. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he proved that with the players he had. He took it as far as he could for as long as he could, but he did it with the club as well. He took a very badly run back a house and dragged it along with him. I mean, they said it in Square Ball, again, not to plagiarize somebody else, but I think on Phil Hayes' show or Square Ball, or could have even been on Adam Pope's. They said that Bielsa took care of everything and changed everything. He changed the academy setup. He changed how the structure of everyone interacted with each other. He built a model. And then he's gone. And that's when they adopted Red Bull model, because they needed to adopt the model because they haven't got one. They don't have a model. They don't know what they want to be. This image of what's Leeds' identity, and we all think it's Bielsa's football because we like that and we're drawn to that. But they don't have no idea what a Leeds identity looks like. It's whatever the cheapest copy and paste model is, and we can put in here. But exactly what happened is what I expected to happen. I believe Carlos Corberan's name was floated in the media the day before Jesse was sacked. I believe that was done deliberately. Look at the journalists that it came through. I believe the same would happen with Schroeder. Schroeder came out of absolutely nowhere the night before the match and went to favorite odds on bookies suspended betting on him like that, which that doesn't happen. I mean, you're not in the running at all, and then you're the favorite. That's a kite that's been flown. See what happens here then. Then he turns up to the game and he's picked. He's picked out in the crowd. There's a reaction to it. Rads was having a fantastic weekend with Twitter. He was interacting with everybody. He was tweeting YouTubers. He was, preaching about white smoke and
resurrecting John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
Yeah, it was like worst deadline day signing, JKA. Like, I mean, man.
First he said JFK, so
yeah, he changed it then. Yeah, but like, put the bottle back in the fridge, close the door, boil the kettle, sit down, relax, give your phone to your wife and leave it alone for a bit. So he saw the reaction on Twitter then, and I went in pretty heavy. I never tweet the owner, but in this situation, I was like, do not do this. Yeah. The thing with the Leeds data site, which never puts anything out personal, just sticks to what the Twitter account is, just tweeted out, Rads don't. I mean it, don't. And then all of a sudden he's heading back home and nope, wasn't on the list. He was just over visiting. And then Phil Hay comes out with the stories that he was on pitch side with the staff after the game. He went for dinner with Victor after the match. Wasn't with Rads or with Ten Hag's group at all because he was in Leeds and they'd gone back to Manchester. So, Alex, I don't want to swear on your channel because I don't, but it's a cluster F word is what it looks to me. And now I think they've just gone, all right, just put everything away and let's just start again. And let's say nothing, and we'll go into secret mode. Tell Romano we're recruiting in secret now, and that your man was never on the list, and don't worry about it. And that's what's happened. And every couple of months, Rads does something that makes us look really poor as a club, and it's the one thing about him that annoys me the most because I appreciate everything he did for Leeds to get us up, and he'll always have that. But every now and then he makes us look like a Sunday League side who been ran by a drunk chairman, there's so many shades of Chileno starting to seep in the last couple of months. I really don't like it. The sooner this takeover happens, the better. But that's an incredibly long answer to a question, Alex. I'm sorry, but I've ranted now as well. But it's been a disaster.
Well, I think can I just add something to what you said, Jared? I think one of the things about Bielsa was that he raised everybody's standards, whether they answered to him directly or not. Everybody's standards, from like the medical people to like the people who were taking care of the training pitch to everything. He just demanded such high standards. And, you see things about him, personally funding, a gym for staff at the training center, so that, and then his wife designed, he just gave so much of himself to it that everybody, whether they interacted with him directly or not, whether they answered to him or not, they all felt like they had to raise their game. And it did feel like that was what was happening. And so, it wasn't just the playing staff. It was everybody. It was the coaching staff. It was everyone was raising their game when he was here. And there was just a certain level of professionalism that I think we really came to expect as fans and admire. And so oftentimes it's a lack of professionalism, I think, is what we're getting from our chairman with his interactions with people on social media. And just some of the bizarre stuff that they've done over time. And some of it's petty and just you can quibble with it or whatever, including most of the social media stuff, frankly. But some of it actually really does bring us, into some disrepute, right? And it is embarrassing. It's embarrassing that stuff happens. And some of the stuff is more serious, right? You go back to the Kiko Casillas stuff. You go back to, trips to Myanmar. Some of that stuff is really, that's going back a ways, but you're right. It's always been there. There's always been something. Just as things are going well, there's always been something that trips us up. And almost always it's been a stupid decision from the people in the boardroom.
Yep. Don't need any more centre midfielders. Cost Bielsa his job.
Yeah, the badge, the Osama bin Laden as a cutout. There's been some
always
head scratchers
Again,
Um,
I'll say it's the fact that Bielsa made them bulletproof. That 3-year block in the middle, we all forgot about the stuff because it was just so good.
Yeah.
well, here we are with Scoobs. By the way, there is, last I checked, there was 9 likes. I know there's not, 15, 16 of you that are hate watching this. So please smash the like. It's a small channel. The most impactful thing you can do is tap the like button, open up your phone, minimize the window, or open the window back up, smash the like. Scoobs has had 2 games. I've been impressed. There's been a system. There's been a formation. I don't know what to say. It just looks more organized. I like what you said, Jer, in one of your streams, that we seem to be defending from the front. I thought that was a good strategy. Obviously, I think it worked for really good portions of both that home and away fixture. He had one little interesting nugget to say in the press conference today, that they're both both the managers, Scoobs and Dyche, are from the same school. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend. But what's your take on Scoobs, and what are you hopefully expecting for this weekend? Let's start off with Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and it's so hard to tell because we've had two games with him that are really fixtures that I don't think you can read too much into, because they're fixtures against sort of our biggest rival. The players are going to be up for it anyway. There's always sort of a bounce that tends to, well, not always, but there tends to be a bounce that happens after a managerial change, whether it's the new manager bounce or getting rid of the old manager bounce or whatever the bounce is. And just also the fact that we're playing them home and away like that, which is also just something that never happens really. So it's hard to read too much into it, but it looks to me like they're playing with a little bit more freedom. It looks to me like they're playing with a little bit more width, not a significant amount more, but a little bit more. I did notice that there were some wingers on either side of the 18-yard box as opposed to inside the lines. They were just outside of the line. So even if it's just 3 or 4, feet or a couple of yards on either side, it's enough. Juan Martinez, hello. So there's that. Maybe they're even if the general strategy is same or similar, maybe just that little bit of extra freedom is helping them out. I noticed that I think that the way that we're sort of defending from the front, as you say, it's almost like we have a high block. Like it's not quite pressing the same way, but it's like we have a high block, and then we can drop back as we need to, right? So that's been helpful. And it really caused problems for Man U, because they tried to play out of it, and oftentimes they just keep getting pegged back. Now they had a significant amount of possession, but really, especially in that second game, it really just took like a moment of magic for them to do anything with it, right? It was just unfortunate that we got caught like that, because really they were just having a whole lot of possession for no reason otherwise. Yeah. So I think we performed very well in both cases. I don't want to read too much into it, but I'm optimistic that, if we can sort of continue on playing with that freedom maybe that we didn't have before, to for the players to express themselves a little bit more without always trying to focus on how do I get as close to the middle as possible at all times, then maybe some of the and again, it's still vibes ball, isn't it? But maybe that's enough, because we have quality players, especially at the front end of the pitch. Jer.
Okay. Cool. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was.
So Alex is on mute. He's pointing.
We're on reverse cameras, though, aren't we? Yeah. So that's that way.
Okay.
Yeah. It's look. I like Scoops. Just starting from what I've seen of the bloke so far, I think the information he's given is very clean, clear, and concise. He's taken a lot of the jargon out of it. He has got his own 1 or 2 little buzzwords, but everybody does. And I like specifically the first half in Ellen Road at the weekend. I thought it was a Leeds team that looked like it was on par with the 3rd best team in the league. I thought there was nothing between the 2 teams. They had a couple of chances. We could have got a goal. They probably should have scored from 1-on-1 only from Elie. So I thought we're nose to nose with this, and it's probably being played in 3rd gear. Probably still, there's still probably a bit more needle in this, and there's a bit more to come. And I kind of liked that. I didn't see the second half live because I had a match myself. I kind of left the house thinking, compared to during the week where it was a bit more frantic and a lot more high tempo, this seems more structured, more organized. You can see there's been a couple of more days of information gone across to the players. And the defending from the front was the first thing I clearly noticed. There was a split between Jack Harrison and Rodrigo. I've been highly critical of Jack Harrison this year, but the more I see him in the number 10 role, the more I like him. He's getting better. And I thought in the first half specifically, again, he was releasing the ball early at the right times, which meant we got in some great positions. I think Somerville gets in a great position because of Harrison letting it go early. In the second half, he gets tired and goes back to carrying it too much. But there's huge progress there. And I thought him and Bamford's work rate from a defending perspective was excellent in both halves. I thought we missed that when Bamford went off in the second half. But I think what Scoobs has done is just kind of, and the message that he has said is he's just taken the noise away. He's just basically simplified everything, and it's a much more basic structure. And it's a high block, or what they used to call a high line, and that's all it is. The team just presses high and just drops together and presses together like a wave. But I think it's I said on one of my streams that I thought people that asked for Scoobs to be kept on after the first Man United game was an emotional reaction to a moment of, temporary moment of joy, or at least calm. But after seeing both games, I kind of thought I'd like to see what he could do with Everton. Maybe it's like Dyche isn't really going to know what to do. They don't really know what his style is or his system is. The two games, there was two different kind of ways we played. So there's still an element of mystery about Skubala's tactics or his shape or how he puts the team out. So they don't have a big sample size to go and study this. So I think there's a little edge there. I'm just being overly optimistic, but I think take the time, give him this game, and then just get the appointment right. But I like everything I see with Scoop so far, so I have no issue with him taking weekend's games, and I'm wishing the best of luck.
Yeah, and Dyche doesn't have all the players that he would want to play his style either. I know he's got a few players in there that he would have familiarity with, having had them before in his teams, but he doesn't exactly. And Calvert-Lewin's not even going to be playing. I mean, he's out, so they're going to have Ellis Sims, I think, in this week, is what I read. So, it was a young guy. Don't want to write.
Some of the previews I've seen really believe that there's going to be a midfield battle, obviously with Adams, McKinney, maybe Aronson, maybe Harrison, and then a player that I really rate on them. This is their lineup, obviously, against Arsenal. I could pull up the lineup against Liverpool as well, but Iwobi.
Iwobi. Yeah.
Iwobi. It just seems very strong on the ball, very difficult. He just always comes out. Obviously, the partnership between Cody had just an embarrassing moment against Liverpool. I think that's rare for him. I don't know if he's just maybe fallen off or what, but you're looking at an England international. I was kind of shocked at his defending, and Tarkowski obviously is. I mean, he knows Dyche ball more than probably anybody else.
Yeah. He is Dyche ball. He is the physical. James Tarkowski is the physical embodiment of John Dyche's system.
Yeah. And McNeil as well, right?
Yeah.
He's not the same characteristic of it, but he'll know.
If you put a picture of Tarkowski in front of me in 20 years' time and say, what manager? I would like Dyche.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Dyche ball.
Anybody else in this lineup that you fear, or the tactics in general of the 4-4-2 or the 4-4-1-1 or the? I said in my stream last night, whoever scores first is going to be. It's bigger probably for Everton. Like, I will get very nervous at home that they just close up shop, and it looks more like Forest. So this is a massive test for.
If they score first, it becomes a back nine, right?
Everyone on the line.
Yeah. If they score first, that's a back nine, and we're never getting through it. Like, that's just what happens. We have
9-1-1.
Iwobi sitting on top of Cody's shoulders, not hanging onto the crossbar, so he can't score. Just no, you're not coming.
Yeah. And Cody going down with a head injury every single time he hits the ball. You're asking about people doing embarrassing things. Connor Cody does something embarrassing every single time he plays us, which is goes down with a fake head injury every time he heads the ball in a routine header.
If he played for us, we'd cheer it, though.
Of course we would.
Ailing's flop. You
Yeah.
know?
No, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, there's pressure on them to win this game because they're below us. So
Yeah.
there's pressure on them to get a result. They're at home as well, and the Everton crowd can be a nasty crowd as well when it's not going their way. They can turn pretty quickly. There's
Yeah.
similarities there, but I think it is. I think it's going to be a case. My worry is the same worry was against Man United. Is we're weak under cross balls, and I think he will look to exploit wide areas. Well, we will be asked to deliver from deep areas. McNeil will be asked to be the same. Dwight McNeil is my concern. I think Firpo, as well as he did against Man United, McNeil is not a standard winger. He doesn't just go outside; he goes inside and outside,
Yeah.
and he likes to go in towards goals. So he likes to sneak in on the back post on crosses as well. So Firpo has to produce another good performance. He did really well the other day, but there is a lot of pressure on them to get the results. So as long as they don't score first, which has already been said. But what's interesting about Skubala's team so far is a break from one Jesse Marsh tradition. It's not conceding early. We didn't concede early against Man United in either of those two games. So we scored early, in fact. So if that holds true to this game, I think we've got a chance.
Yeah. That will be the lineup, I think, Alex. Unless there's somebody else there that's out.
Yeah.
Yeah. He might do something funny up front because they asked him about Sims today and there's someone else. The ex-Brighton striker always scores against us. Can't think of his name. Gives it an M. Maupe.
Neil Maupe, yeah.
They asked him about Sims or Maupe, would they play? And he said they can, but we could do something else as well. So you can be playing around there. I wouldn't be surprised to see Iwobi pop up in the middle, or McNeil even. But it's look, Calvert-Lewin not being there is a help because it means cross balls won't be as big a deal, but Corey will spend a lot of time in our box or on the edge of our box, I'd imagine, just for height.
Mm-hmm.
Do you fancy us to have the most possession?
Yeah,
over them
in this one, I do.
Yeah. Now, what we do with it is a different question, but have the possession. Yeah, I see. I think they've got a good back four. Like,
sorry,
I can't pronounce the left back's name. Mikolenko or
Mikolenko. Yeah.
Mikolenko. I think he's a smashing left back. Tarkovsky and Cody are old school centre backs. I really like Connor Cody. I would have loved to have seen us go Connor Cody at the start of the season. Just that, you're steady 7, 8 out of 10 player every single week. Makes the odd mistake, very, very odd mistake. He's usually pretty consistent. Coleman is the weakness, not in ability, but in pace. And if he's got Willie Gnonto or Sinistera running at him, no, we won't. It won't be Sinistera, it'd be Somerville. That's probably our best avenue to get in, but I think they've got a good back four. So
spamming crosses into the box is going to do nothing because they're just going to head them away, or whatever. But if we can get players to the byline and start cutting things back, then that might work better. But
free kicks could be important in this game as well. Yeah. Both ends from defending. It's the deep ones with them that I worry about. But it's if Bamford's clever, Tarkovsky will try and bully Bamford like he always tries to bully Bamford. He tries to kick Bamford out of the game. And if Bamford is clever enough, he could get some free kicks around the edge of the box. We've seen Vober likes to have a go at it. Sam Greenwood could sneak into the team on that basis alone. We reckon we'll get a lot of free kicks around the edge of the box. So we'll put our free kick taker on the pitch. So there's interesting things that can happen. I could be completely wrong on everything and it could be a standard just what is. But I don't know. I think there's it's the most apprehensive I've been about a game all season because there's times when I think, I think we'll win this game. And then there's other moments where I think, but what if we don't win it? If we lose, what happens then? Like, that's when meltdown happens. So I'm stuck in this middle bit between,
I mean, man for man. I mean, I don't know. You could say this for Arsenal, right? But man for man, you like our team.
I think we have a better team on paper. That's the problem. It does look like a better team on paper. That's the problem, though.
Frank Siegel in the comments has said Gnonto and Somerville can terrorize Coleman. I agree with that.
Yeah, and I keep swapping them as well.
Coleman's
every 15 minutes, swap sides.
Flip them around,
inside, outside the whole time.
I'm interested from a tactical standpoint, and then I think we'll go into some of the coaching candidates too that you might be hearing about. But from a tactical perspective, when Willie was kind of drifting more at the end of the Man U game when it was 0-0, he was kind of getting more bright and on the ball. And sometimes you'll see that, like Somerville and him playing together, even though they're on opposite sides, like that fluidity.
in that way.
What's your thoughts on that? Obviously, they're mates, and I think they probably practice together. They want to score together. They have a good rapport, it looks like, on the pitch. Just what's your take on what they're doing, the two youngsters, when they come together?
They clearly are very good friends. They clearly, you can see they enjoy playing on the same pitch together. So that's a start. You've got rapport there. You've got good relationships. So there's trust there between the two of them as well. They're both really exciting, positive players. They both get the ball, and the first thing they want to do is go forward. So, naturally, when they do that, the crowd lifts as well. So the reaction players as well. We all kind of buzz off of that. But what's interesting is that when we had that graphic up is, ironically, I reckon our best way of beating Everton is going narrow. But not Jesse Narrow. And what I mean by that is a point. So basically, I reckon their weaknesses are going to be between the gaps between the fullback and the centre back on both sides.
The half space on each side.
Those half spaces inside. So I reckon what you'll see is the two of them swapping sides. And was what I would do. I'd keep them swapping every couple of minutes. And then you'll be giving the defender, well, the last 2 times your man's gone on the outside of me, but now they've swapped side and this guy's going on the inside of me. And then the defender starts to just not really know which direction you're going to go. So that's when you get those extra yard to a space to go inside, and then you attack that space between the centre back and the full back. And I think you'll see Somerville and Nonto try and do that, and then or look for, similar to Nonto's first goal, the first goal against Manchester United. He'll come inside and look for that ball into Bamford's feet for a layback and then a shot or tuck inside. So I think you'll see Bamford doing a lot of just old school number 9, holding up the ball, laying it off left and right, and the two lads coming in and pivoting towards them. So yeah.
Which is great if he's getting into it with Tarkovsky as well. As you're right, they always do. They have a history of this, getting into it with each other. So yeah, if that's how Bamford's being deployed to be there holding up the ball and to be laying it off, then there might be some fireworks there. Like you said, free kicks around the box, possibly even penalty potential there. So
one last question for you both, and then again, I want to talk about maybe transfer or a possible coach if worst case scenario happens. Firpo, we had a decent look at him against Scum at home. I remember, Gier, at one point you were saying Firpo's a no for now, but that was in the fall. But did he impress you at all in the Scum game?
I have no problem being wrong. I'm wrong consistently. To the point where I'm very used to it now. He's been
bad. I mean, he's been bad at times.
My exact words about Junior Firpo, and I still kind of stick to him to a degree, are Junior Firpo is a terrible defender. I never said he was bad going forward. In fact, I think I've said on a regular occasion, he's got a fantastic cross of a ball. I love when he comes, those big, long, leggy runs down the line. He just can't defend when he's high. When the ball gets played over his head, he doesn't know what to do, and he doesn't recover quick enough for me. He tends to jog back, and there's a long stride rather than a sprint. So, and Robin Koch was blamed for the goal in the first game against United, and I thought that was desperately unfair. I thought it was Firpo just didn't get to the ball quick enough. If he opened his legs a bit faster, the cross would never have come in. So, but he was fine in Old Trafford, and I thought he had a decent game in Ellen Road. There's an old saying, one swallow doesn't make a spring. So, he needs to do it again. He needs to do it consistently now. Pascal's back in training this week. I would imagine it's probably a little too early with a concussion to come back in, but he's back in training. So there's a bit of pressure on him as well. But if he wants to get a run the Leeds team, and if he wants to save his Leeds career, the next 2 games are massive to him as well.
Yeah, I agree. Michael, what do you think on Junior?
No, I would echo exactly what Jer said. For me, like, Firpo's been a no only because he's not really been able to defend, and we haven't seen much from him otherwise because he's usually been injured. But I think going forward, he is good. He's probably one of our better attacking fullbacks for sure, if not the best one that we have in terms of going forward. I like how he inverts. I like how he has sort of flicks and tricks and things around the box, which is helpful when he is inverting. And we've seen that from him. So, I think he's got confidence when he gets forward, but he doesn't have any.
Which we liked in Alioski.
I think he would be a fantastic wing back. Like, you have a back three, and then you have him as a wing back with minimal defensive responsibilities. He'd be great.
Yeah,
but that's not how he's been used. So maybe we're just misusing him. I don't know.
No, I love his overlaps. I mean, things that we haven't seen, just because Pascal is not that. I mean, he kind of drifts out there, but he doesn't have that kind of continuous run on an overlap or an underlap or in crossing. It's just sometimes not in Pascal's locker. So, yeah, I agree with you moving forward. And then he's been nervy but decent at the back. And then obviously we all went, I think the entire LUFC fan base went like this when he got a yellow at minute 12. It's like,
oh no, most yellows of like it's per minute or whatever. He's got like an incredible amount of yellow cards.
I think I tweeted out at the exact moment that happened. Well, that's Junior Firpo's first 20-minute yellow card out of the way. We can now concentrate on the game.
Yeah.
We all had that on our bingo card.
Yellows per minute or something. I think he's leading the league.
The odds on him getting a yellow card in the first 20 minutes must be awful. They must be the worst odds you can get on any player.
Okay, let's go worst case scenario here, and let's say that the weekend doesn't go well. We get like less than 2 points in the next 2 games. Leeds have just said that he's the manager for now. What is being whispered out there that you guys are hearing? What's your gut tell you? And we'll start with Jer.
I hear nothing. I read other people's things that they hear. I'm the Herald. I'm not the actual source of the information. Just the person that shouts about it. There's a couple today. So from what I read today, and I said this on my news today, was this is a Team Talk exclusive. So take this with a bucket of salt. Because the last exclusive they had was the QSI one, which Ben Jacobs ripped apart in about 5 minutes. So the worrying line on this was trusted source in the first sentence. And I was like, that track record's not great. They're saying that Leeds are looking at a long-term option, and the long-term option is Gallardo, which I don't think any of us would have a problem with. The problem is you're not getting him until the summer. So the problem is, what are you going to do in the next 6 months? Dean Jones said that what he is hearing is Nuno. Nuno got a bit of legs again tonight. Ben Jacobs said tonight as well that there's legs in the Nuno story. And Ben Jacobs, for me, is pretty much always on the money. Or I should say, Ben doesn't say something unless he's actually talking from a position of knowledge. So I think Gallardo, so I think there's something in Nuno. I'm not against Nuno. I keep saying Nuno is in my bracket of meh kind of managers, yeah, fine. It's vanilla ice cream. It's like, yeah, it's fine, but there's nicer. You can get better. But I think we'd be safe with him. And to go back to Michael's point, I'd write this down in case I forgot it. Nuno plays a back three with wing backs. Yeah. And I think we would get the best out of all of our defenders if we played a back three with wing backs. And I still think there's room for your midfield of Roque, McKennie, Adams, and Bamford. I think it works really, really well. You can deploy the couple of wingers that we do have there. I think you hide Firpo's weaknesses and you elevate his strengths as a wingback. And I think you probably do the same for Rasmus Christensen as well. I think he'd probably be a bombing wingback. And it gives that extra body in the back line to keep us safe. You can have Vober in there, Cooper in there, and Koch in there. And that's okay. It's not a bad centre-half grouping. So I'm okay with, the ones I don't want to see. Steven Gerrard's popped up a couple of times in the last couple of days. The name is starting to get mentioned a little bit too much now for it to be a coincidence. I think, and again, from speaking to my brother about it, and a guy, a Villa fan, put a comment on one of my videos today, and he said, same thing Keith always says about it, no discernible style of football. Nobody knew what he brought to the club. His success appears to have been all related to Beale. And then when Beale went to QPR, we saw what job he did there. And then he's doing a great job at Rangers as well.
Mike Cello Bielsa. Did you see what he did?
Yeah.
He let them gave a goal back, just like Bielsa did. Yeah.
Yep. So he's at Rangers, so I can't like him. I'm not allowed to like him.
No, I understand. Yeah. But Rangers, they did give the goal. They let, in the cup.
I think Beale's a cracking coach. And I think that was the magic with Steven Gerrard. It was the same with Dennis Wise and Gus Poyet at Leeds. Gus was the magic sauce. Dennis was the cladding on the front of the house, know. You get good partnerships sometimes that work really well together, and they just don't do well on their own. So yeah, I think if it's Gerrard and McAllister, someone. Dean Jones also said that Gary McAllister coming back to Leeds with Steven Gerrard would soften the blow of us getting Steven Gerrard. I was like, no, it wouldn't be, because Gary McAllister's last year at Leeds was a disaster.
Yeah, it was.
So we haven't forgotten that either. So, and I'm still sore about when McAllister left Leeds to go to Liverpool, because I was a very impressionable teenager at that time, and I remember him saying, I don't feel loved at Leeds anymore, and that hurt me as a kid, and it annoyed me to the point where I still haven't let go of that. So Gary McAllister, I'm like, yeah, don't really care. Good player, great for Leeds, don't care. So it can't be them for me. It just can't be that pair. Gallardo, long term, definitely great shout. Short term, no issue. And if he does well, I've no issue with him taking on next year as well. He did play very nice football the year he won the championship and the first couple of years in the Premier League. I know there's time wasting stuff that's thrown against him and some not great playing the last year. But I think it was again Adam Pope or Phil Hay that said that his final year in England was during COVID and his family were in Portugal and he couldn't see his family, and apparently it had a detrimental effect on what he was doing, and that's why the last year Wolves fell apart. And then the Spurs job he was never keeping that job. They didn't want him. They just needed somebody, and we're probably in that boat as well. So 2 7th place finishes in the Premier League, European football after getting promoted. So there's a lot of stuff there. You'd say, yeah, I wouldn't think one bad stint, but they're the names right now. Martino was kind of mentioned again, but it looks like it's not going to be Martino. But anything can happen with the Three Stooges in charge. It could be the caretaker, and I mean literal caretaker of the ground next with the keys to come in and look after for a week or two.
Well, hopefully it won't be that. Hopefully we get 3 points here this weekend. We can that'd be a massive game. It is a 6-pointer in my opinion, and I think that we can crack on.
Alex, sorry.
Yeah.
If Juan Martinez says Sam Allardyce is our next manager, take that to the bank. You can take that to the bank.
Love you, Juan. Excellent account. A parody account, I believe. Shout out to everybody in the comments. We just wanted to do a hard hour with the boys today. Big Mally, all the regulars, Michael Brown, Disabled Team. Big shout out to you. I love your content. Juan, Joe Depp is always a big contributor on I think both of our channels, Jer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Ryan, Big Mally.
Follow Connor Sligo.
There's about 50 of you in here. Go ahead and smash the like. We're gonna try to do 100 likes, and yeah, that's our goal. 110. I'm gonna raise it. 110, and then modest.
Slow down.
Good question.
We can keep talking. I worry about the 49ers. I just think that they have fish to fry with the NFL. I talked about this in the stream last night. Like, their transfer window is open right now. They have free agency and then they have a draft, and they're scouting thousands of college football players to get their side stronger. And they desperately need a quarterback. They got to the final before the Super Bowl without a quarterback, which is the most important player.
4 quarterbacks.
They were down to their fourth. Imagine being down to your 4th string goalie, or basically the Leeds last without a striker. Putting Dan James what they basically had. They had Dan James at striker.
Yeah, 15-year-old on the bench. Like, yeah.
Hang on a second. This sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thanks, Jer. Michael, you can find at Maynard M on Twitter. Jer Lynch on Twitter, as well as Leeds United The View for content. You're gonna probably do a match preview, I assume, or a match review. Tune into that. Quick score predictions, Michael.
We're gonna win this one 2-0.
Oh, I'm getting heart palpitations. You just because you said 2-0. Like, that's the level of anxiety I have about this game. I think 1-1. Yeah, 1-1.
I did 3-1. I'm going to continue.
Before we shut down, Alice, do you want to answer? I want to deal with a couple of the questions and comments, because there are a few there that I like. I can stay an extra few minutes to deal with them if you want. There's one I want Jared to answer.
Go for it. I'm going to go off camera for a second.
Well, there's one question here about, talk about the difference between a good coach and a manager. You're a manager sets out vision and strategy, but what daily tangible steps does a good manager take? I
People.
think that's a good one for you, Jer. So
Yeah,
That's a
I've
both
done
of you.
both. I've done both jobs. Probably a more successful coach than than I am a manager, but I'm still a baby as a manager. I would say a manager, people skills, being able to speak to people on a one-on-one, understand how to get the best out of the individuals, and then how to mesh the individuals together to make a team. It's probably the biggest one. Organization skills are hugely important, and having a clear vision of what you want to put out on a pitch and how you want it to succeed. Your coach then comes down to coaches need to be really good teachers, because this is why not all great footballers are great coaches, because coaching, the best coaches are people who can take information and transfer it to somebody else pretty easily and succinctly. So coaches with a very good communication skills as well. And again, good teachers and passionate about it as well. And then just being able to carry out what a manager wants them to do. So the manager has the vision, the coach breaks it down and how that should be, taught to the players in different ways to bring it all together again. So, yeah, that's would be the two biggest differences. Both need to be good to get success. Don't get success with one.
Awesome. There's another one that I saw, which was how do we view Ruder's best position? And for me, he's still learning. I know we sort of brought him in as a 9. I don't think he is a 9. I think maybe he can develop into being a 9 at some point. He's 20. He's young. He's got lots of room to develop. Right now, his best position for me is probably coming in off the right.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Or as a second striker.
Yeah, I wouldn't judge him till at least this time next year.
No, yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah, give him time. He's 20. 20 years of age, just to a new league. Our expectations are probably set a little bit high with Willie Gnonto. We weren't expecting to do anything with, and then this guy comes as a record signing. I wouldn't write him off. People saying he's wasted 30 million. It might be the best 30 million we ever spent in 5 years' time. So give him time. We're very reactive at the moment. We're like, if somebody has a bad game, they're the worst in the world. We're very, I hate this thing about speaking in definitive terms, like he's the worst ever. Like, well, no, he's not, because Paul Trubka was here, so he has that. No one else, no one gets that. That's not been taken away.
That's right.
So there's always say that. How bad a game you have, you're not Rich Trubka.
Yeah.
So yeah, I give him time, but I agree with you right now. I'd say coming in off wide areas is probably.
We had Steve Morrison as a forward for a long time. Like
I'd forgotten about that. I completely. I remember
Hunt and I
remember watching Leeds playing when I was a kid. I was in Cork, and it was just before. Just the start of the George Graham era, I think it was. And Mark Haley from Rangers, who in my head was about 50 at that point, and Lee Chapman, who I thought had retired a couple of times, both signed for Leeds, along with, which I re-signed. Chapman came back, along with Ian Rush. That's like, we just signed 3 versions of the same player, but all too old to be anyway effectively. We've had some awful moments, and it can always be worse. It can always be worse.
You boys good?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. There was a couple of questions. I know there's probably other questions there. I'm sorry we didn't get to everybody, but there's just 2 that I stuck a pin in on the way through as I was looking at the comments. So I hope we answered those for you, everybody. Good night.
See you, everybody. Thanks, boys. See you in the chat.
See you guys.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.